coming. The first Boeing Starliner astronauts have arrived at the launch site. Hello viewers of the Elon Musk Signal channel. There's been a positive development in the Starliner journey. The first Boeing Starliner astronauts have officially arrived at the launch site. Brave astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams have completed their journey from Houston, Texas, where they've been trained for months, to Cape Canaveral, Florida. Here, they will meticulously inspect the Starliner spacecraft and prepare for the historic launch scheduled for June 3. This marks a significant milestone, initiating the mission to transport the first crew of Starliner spacecraft to the International Space Station, ISS. Stay tuned for updates as we bring you more exciting information right now. According to Space.com, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams arrived at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on Tuesday, May 28, ahead of the scheduled launch of Boeing Starliner on Saturday, June 1. The crewed flight test of Starliner will commence in a week-long mission to the ISS from Space Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. The liftoff is set for 12:25 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 16:25 GMT, on June 1, with landing scheduled a week later in the southwestern United States. NASA is conducting a Delta readiness review late on May 29 to assess the launch. This is slightly more detailed than the standard review, to address technical concerns regarding Starliner arising from a helium leak. Assuming the mission passes review and the schedule holds, the CFT will launch from nearby Cape Canaveral Air Force Station no earlier than 12:25 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 16:25 GMT. This isn't the first time the crew has flown to KSC on NASA's T-38 training jets for a launch attempt. They flew first on April 25 for a planned launch on May 6, but that attempt was scrubbed to address issues, and the crew, still in quarantine, returned to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston for several weeks to continue training and await a more certain launch date. According to Space.com, Starliner is still set to fly its historic first crewed flight on June 1, but that could change as the team works through complex issues following a minor helium leak. After nearly 3 weeks of comprehensive testing and data analysis, NASA managers said Friday that they are confident Boeing's delayed Starliner crew module can launch safely as is on June 1, saying a small helium leak in the spacecraft's propulsion system poses no safety concerns for flight. Helium, as an inert gas, is not an immediate risk for a launch. But because it resides in a part of Starliner's propulsion system, it could affect pressures for minor maneuvers in orbit. In addition to investigating the leak, NASA and Boeing have been working to understand how the helium system might affect Starliner's return to Earth. The leak is in one of 4 doghouse propulsion system pods made by Aerojet Rocketdyne, situated around the outside of Starliner's service module. It's in a contributing line used to open and close valves on each thruster. This situation has made Starliner's team more vigilant about the complexities, while NASA says pre-launch checks are robust. But that's precisely the role of a test flight, to identify such issues. NASA, Aerojet Rocketdyne, and Boeing are evaluating about 5 solutions to prevent recurrence of the leak in future missions. Because helium is a small molecule, it tends to leak. Stick said the helium leak investigation has shed light on a design gap in the propulsion system. 3 techniques are certified in which Starliner can come home: 8 RCS thrusters, 2 attitude control thrusters, and orbit control, OMAC, or 4 OMAC thrusters. June 1 is not a hard lock, as work is still ongoing, but some backup dates exist in the coming days. June 2, June 5, and June 6 are short-term opportunities for Starliner to debut, with other chances in early summer. Starliner CFT has had a long journey to the launch pad. NASA awarded missions to both SpaceX and Boeing with billion-dollar contracts in 2014 to ferry astronauts to the ISS by 2017. Both vehicles were delayed in that goal due to technical and budgetary challenges. SpaceX, borrowing from the Cargo Dragon design that has been executing ISS missions since 2012, completed its first crew test mission in 2020. SpaceX has since carried out 11 other missions to the ISS. Starliner, a completely new spacecraft, took longer. Its first ISS mission in 2019 without astronauts was stuck in the wrong orbit due to software glitches and did not reach its destination. A subsequent mission in 2022 made it safe after dozens of repairs and delays due to the pandemic. In 2023, the Commercial Crew Program, CFT, again faced delays as the spacecraft's heat shield was found to withstand less weight than expected, and highly flammable tape was discovered on the electrical system. NASA and Starliner officials emphasized that this is a developmental mission, meaning safety takes precedence over any schedule issues. This holds true for all missions but also means design adjustments need to be made in the process. Both CFT astronauts are also former test pilots of the US Navy and thus have been involved in developing other aerospace projects for decades. Everything seemed on track for the launch effort on May 6, but towards the end of the countdown, a squealing valve was discovered on the Atlas V rocket, meaning the oxygen valve was rapidly opening and closing. This issue led ULA, Boeing, and NASA to abort the mission. Hours of troubleshooting led to the decision to return the rocket to its base at Cape Canaveral to replace the valve. On May 12, the valve replacement went according to plan. However, after the launch was aborted, a small helium leak was discovered on the Aerojet Rocketdyne engine mounted on the Starliner spacecraft. This incident was thoroughly investigated. The helium leak posed no immediate risk to the spacecraft launch, as helium is inert. Representatives noted that both the Crew Dragon and Shuttle have successfully launched with helium leaks. The concern is how this leak will affect the Reaction Control System, RCS. RCS consists of 28 small engines on the Starliner spacecraft, responsible for minor maneuvers in orbit. The leak occurred at a small location about the size of a button on the Starliner spacecraft, between two metal parts of a flange, separated by a thin rubber layer less than 10 sheets of paper thick. Depending on the surrounding pressure, the leak rate fluctuates from 50 psi to 70 psi. While this figure may seem high, NASA and Boeing stress that it needs to be understood relative to the very small size of the leak location. Although Starliner is mounted on the Atlas V rocket, opening the leak area is unsafe. However, in-depth computer analyses show that the leak seems stable. The research team adjusted the pressure in this area to simulate changes during spaceflight and were satisfied with the performance obtained. Additionally, all 27 other engines did not leak, creating a large buffer zone to prevent any other leaks. Steve Stick of NASA, the agency's commercial crew program manager, emphasized in a call on May 24. During the helium leak troubleshooting process, engineers discovered a design gap. Specifically, Starliner has 3 certified modes to bring astronauts back to Earth, 1 mode using RCS engines, and 2 modes using orbit control engines and attitude control, OMAC. OMAC modes require 2 or 4 engines depending on the situation. The RCS re-entry mode requires 8 engines in the adjacent doghouse clusters. There are 4 such clusters around Starliner. But in the rare event of a helium leak, all engines in the adjacent doghouse clusters could fail simultaneously, meaning the RCS would no longer be available to support OMAC. Therefore, the team has created and simulated with CFT astronauts a new re-entry mode, requiring only 4 RCS engines to operate at the same time. The Delta Flight Readiness Review meeting will confirm the certification of this new re-entry technique, along with other issues. The countdown is nearing its end, and we are eagerly awaiting the day when Starliner will take astronauts into the sky. Thank you for watching the entire video. Please leave your comments on today's broadcast. Don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for continuous updates on interesting information. Goodbye and see you in the next video.